Are you looking for effective knee strengthening exercises you can do at home or really anywhere? In this video, we're going to be going over 3 very powerful moves in order to build strong knees at home with no equipment. Let's get started. Hey guys, it's Neil Toussaint with TrickStrong.com, and it is our goal to help you guys perform without limitation. In this video, we're going to be going over 3 knee strengthening exercises to help you guys train at home or wherever you are so you can stay consistent year-round. Before we jump into that, I just want to talk about full range of motion before we load the exercise. So what I mean by that is some of these exercises are going to be very difficult, especially at the deeper ranges. So typically people might load those exercises or add weights a bit early. And when you add weights too early and you're doing things through a partial range of motion, it can lead to what we call accommodation. So that's where strength training sometimes gets a bad rap in terms of mobility. You think of bodybuilders, etc. You know, they're very stiff and they can't move, right? A lot of that is due to the way we're training, not necessarily strength training itself. So strength training isn't going to necessarily make you stiff. It is training in a limited range that's going to make you stiff and make your body accommodate to that shortened range of motion that you're training rather than the full range. So in this video, we're going to really be focusing on getting you guys through that full range of motion before we start loading. And that's perfect for home because if you don't have any equipment, you can get tons out of all of these exercises before you ever have to load it. We can do things like changing the lever, changing your body position, and changing tempo. We're going to be going through all of those things in this video. The first exercise we're going to be going over is a single leg squat progression. So we're going to start with a shrimp squat and then go to a pistol squat. The main issues that people have with single leg squat progressions is balance and range of motion. So we're going to be addressing both of those with assistance, getting to our full range of motion before we would ever load the exercise as we discussed. So you can use sticks, you can use a wall, you can use chairs, anything with balance support, and that'll be very helpful in this progression. So the shrimp squat looks like this without any assistance. And really this back leg hold isn't very necessary. It's almost like a mobility and strength exercise. We're more concerned about strengthening the knee right now. So I'm going to show you the full expression of the shrimp squat, but really we don't need to do that to get the benefits of this exercise. So you would be holding your back leg, you go down and you come back up. That's how you'll see it a lot if you look this exercise up. But what we're going to be doing, our aim is mainly going to be this and back up, because that is the same as far as this knee is going, right? So that's what we're going to be working towards. We can use, as I said, chair, sticks, etc. And the first thing I would do is work on an assisted shrimp squat. So you can use handheld support, and now I can not only use it for balance, but I could use it for support where I'm pulling to come back up. So I'm using the support to come back up. If we did this with a wall, it'd be very similar, where you're just using that for balance. And you could even lean towards the wall and then come back up that way. If that is too difficult, of course, you can do partial range, so you could have that same support, and then just go to the depth that you have control in. So I'll give you another view. Be coming down and up back there. And then as you go, you would get lower and lower until you could do the full exercise. You could also work it with just the negative. So you could lower and then use that other leg to stand back up. Lower, use the other leg for assistance. Once you feel that you've mastered the shrimp squat, you can move on to the pistol squat. But of course you can program both of them into your routine, because I do feel that they work the glutes, quads, and the lower leg just a little bit differently. But we're going to progress into the pistol squat now, and this is going to be the full expression of the exercise. And it's more difficult because you have a deeper knee angle, and it does require a lot more ankle dorsiflexion, so that ability for that ankle to bend, and that's very commonly limited in a lot of people due to a lot of different reasons, shoe wear, etc. But there's a lot of ways to get around that and to improve that with this exercise. So I really love the pistol squat, especially for athletes. And I'm hoping you're noticing that this single leg type of movement is not going to allow you to compensate. So sometimes in athletics, you might not notice a deficit because you're on that leg for such a short amount of time. But then when it comes down to it, you are putting yourself at higher risk of injury and reduced performance, because if the single leg can't do everything it's supposed to be able to do, then that's where you run into problems later on. So check out this pistol squat again and look at the ankle, and you're gonna see how much we need to bend. A lot of you guys, if you're having ankle issues, ankle range of motion issues, you're gonna feel like you need to fall back, or you wanna fall back, and that's going to be a limitation there, right? So we can use assistance to get to that deeper range of motion. So you could use a wall, and I'm gonna get a box as well, and I'm gonna show you a box squat as well. So just like the shrimp squat, we can use assistance and then just get to that depth where it becomes difficult, and then you can come back up. Another thing, even without a handhold assistance, that you can do is just do 2 up, 1 down. So that's gonna look like this. So you can lower, put that down, and come back up. Lower till it gets really difficult, either strength-wise or mobility-wise, and then you come back up. Another way to do it is to use a box. If you're really limited in that range or strength, that's fine. You just build up a box or a bench to where you can support yourself. And your goal is always gonna be to use it as little as possible and then just work in this range. But don't stay there, of course. Our goal is to get that full range before we ever load it. So instead of having a kettlebell here and loading it, I'd rather you, once you get a bit stronger, to go deeper and deeper into this exercise. And for all of these variations, whether you can do a full range pistol squat, a box pistol squat, or any assisted squat, shrimp squat, etc., I would do about 3 sets to fatigue, and I would aim for about 8 to 10 reps if you can get to it. It might be 5 at first, but that's okay. And then we get to like 8 to 10 reps. And I would do that 2 to 3 days a week. And you're gonna notice a lot of progress in these exercises. Real quick before we move on to the next exercise, I just want to give you guys that have ankle mobility restrictions a way to progress that side of it too. Of course, doing the exercise is going to help with ankle mobility, but if you have a slant board, I know we're saying no equipment, you could use a slant board. If you don't, you can use a towel roll to elevate your heel so that you have less range of motion requirement at the ankle, and then over time you're gonna progress it down so that you can do it on a flat surface. So I'll show you what I mean. So now I'm at this deficit. Now I don't need as much ankle mobility to go down and up. And you might notice your posture gets more upright. That's because you're not using as much ankle mobility. Then you can roll up the towel and then put this right under your heel, and that will also help you out with that ankle mobility restriction. Next, we're gonna be doing a single leg hinge progression. So a hip hinge is moving mostly about the hips rather than the knee. So the first exercise we moved about the knee, so that was a pistol squat. A lot of knee movement, not as much hip movement. Now we're gonna primarily be doing hip movement. So we're gonna be pushing that butt back, really loading the glutes and hamstrings primarily. You're gonna get a little bit of lower back and calf as well to stabilize. But this is a great, great exercise to help stabilize the knee in a single leg position. And that's gonna be very important for us as athletes and as humans. So the first progression in this is going to be a wall-assisted single leg hip hinge. So you can use a wall or the stick. I'll show you that in a second. And I'm just having my hand hold here. My body might be blocking it, so I'm just right along my side here. And what I'm gonna do is really push my hip back. So I'm on that right leg, pushing that right hip back till I feel a nice stretch, and then I'm gonna come back up. As soon as you feel that stretch, you can allow your knee to bend slightly, but you're trying to get to at least a parallel position and then back up. If your mobility is restricted, this is actually gonna be an amazing way to help build that mobility. You're gonna build it through strength as well, so you're gonna be loading that tissue, and over time, that's gonna allow you to get lower and lower. And then once you've progressed, well, let me show you in another view actually before we do that. So I could use these sticks here, and then you can see that my trunk is nice and square as I go down and back up. And I really squeeze the glutes to the top. And then to progress, you can do it without wall assistance, of course. So that would just look like this. Very balancy. But once you get that control, that's gonna be very helpful. If you need an intermediate step, you can always have that back leg down a little bit. So I'm putting like 5% of my body weight in that back leg. And you're still working that same pattern. So since we're doing this without equipment, a great way to progress this from the here without using weight is actually gonna be the cone taps. And I'm just showing you this as a visual. You don't necessarily need a visual representation here, but this is gonna be basically a 3-way single leg deadlift. So make sure you guys can see that cone there. And then basically I have them at the 3 different angles here. And now it's gonna force me to rotate through my trunk in 3 planes because our body is not built just like this. Tissue goes in all sorts of lines. And in order to get all the tissue in our hamstring and glutes to fire and to work and to contribute to movement, we wanna train that, right? So we need to train those rotational patterns just as much as we train the up and down. So the first cone would be that up and down, but now this cone, maybe I put it to the side a little bit too much, but I can reach there and then I have to twist now. I'm gonna use that same hand to get to this one. So you're gonna use the opposite hand to reach of the stance leg. I'll show you one more here. You're gonna rotate. And the last one here. And lastly, to progress this even further, you can add speed or tempo to this movement. So you can do a slow descent, really focusing on that negative, and then explode back up. And you can actually do that with all the variations in this series that we're showing you guys. So basically, if I'm doing a single leg deadlift, I can really stress that negative and then explode up to stand. And that's gonna mimic more of an athletic demand. And that's gonna require more strength and power to do that and to stabilize well. So play with that as well. And same for sets and reps. I would say 3 sets to fatigue, and you can do that about 2 to 3 days a week. So for this last progression, we're gonna be going over the Copenhagen plank. It looks intimidating if you look at the full expression of this exercise, but there are a lot of progressions to get to that point, and regardless of where you're at right now, you can use those progressions to get to where you need, right? Maybe you don't need that fullest progression, but maybe you need something in the middle that's gonna help support your movement goals, right? So this first one is going to be a side plank. We're gonna use the box actually in the beginning, and we're not even gonna start in a side plank position, a full one. We can use some elevated surface to be in a modified side plank where now not my full body weight is involved. And so now we're gonna use the top leg to support that movement. So if you feel comfortable with it, you can take that bottom leg away, and now you're gonna feel the load go into your groin or adductor muscles, and you can hold this for time. What we wanna aim for is about 5 to 10 reps, 10-second holds, and it should be a very difficult hold for you. If it's not too hard, then you're gonna progress it down. So obviously we would go down and down until we got to a flat position, so I could hold that. That's very easy for you, then we can make it all the way to the ground. So to do the Copenhagen plank on the floor, you're gonna start in this side plank position, but as you can see, my bottom leg is bent and my top leg is straight. So we're gonna actually use that bottom leg to help support the side plank. So I'm in a straight line from my shoulders to my ankles. And the more and more I load that top leg into the ground, the more and more I feel like maybe I can pick this leg up. So if you can pick this leg up, that's pretty good. So see if you can hold that for about 10 seconds. So that would be the next level. After that, you can do it on a box, as you saw earlier. So now this is gonna be even more load on that adductor, and we're gonna hold that for time. Try to do about 10-second holds, and it should be very difficult for you. Next, we can progress this by getting the box higher, and I'm actually gonna show you that, but you can do holds there as we just did, or you can start doing dynamic movement. So now this doesn't replace the isometric holds. So as you get to this point where you're able to start doing this next progression, I would definitely keep the isometric holds in the exercise because that's gonna load different type of tissue. So with the isometric holds, we're gonna be loading more of that connective tissue, more of the tendon, and with the movement, we're gonna get more of that muscle. So we want both of those things. So now that you've advanced this point, now you can come up and down and do this for reps. And this exercise is absolutely amazing for the inner groin and just for single leg strength, stability. It's gonna help protect against those inward knee forces that we know are not the best for ligaments like the ACL and the MCL, for example. So we wanna be able to control those forces. Lastly, I'll show you, just for fun, that you can progress this a lot at home without ever using equipment. You just need a chair, and you can build that chair up, or a box, or anything of that nature. And that will be an amazing exercise to help improve that strength and stability in a single leg position. As with the other exercises in this video, we're gonna do 3 sets to fatigue. We're gonna do that about 2 to 3 days a week. I'm also gonna add that you do the isometric holds for 5 to 10 reps at a 10-second hold. So you're gonna do both of those exercises separately. And you're gonna get so much strength and stability out of that, because a lot of people don't strengthen the inner groin muscles. They strengthen the glutes and the hamstrings and the quads maybe, but we're not getting a lot of that. And we use that a lot, especially if you're tricking. It's a lot of groin work, a lot of kicking across the body, and this is gonna help you get to the next level with that. And there you go. These are 3 knee strengthening exercises you can do at home or really anywhere to keep progressing, even if you don't have access to equipment. And we really highlighted using a full range of motion so that you're not accommodating to the exercise and you're actually progressing as your range improves. And also we talked about using speed and tempo to really help get you to the next level. So you can do things slow, you can do things fast to really increase the time under tension, increase power output, etc., to achieve your movement goals. If you really want to perform without limitations and keep your knees healthy, then head over to TrickStrong.com. As a doctor of physical therapy and movement artist myself, I've created countless programs to get you guys from rehab to peak performance. So whether you're dealing with any strength goals, you want to master your mobility, or you really want to get to the next level in your athleticism, then head over to TrickStrong.com. We got you covered. And if you enjoyed this video, like, share, subscribe, and we appreciate you greatly. Train hard, stay safe, and see you soon for the next one.